inspiration for inspiring us today. Thank you, Carl and Jennifer. I feel like there are a bouquet of beautiful pink and red voices here, like a living flower arrangement of love. Thank you all, and I hope you felt all of their love back to you as well. I dedicate this talk to everyone who has ever nurtured anything in all of time throughout human history. And that means it's to you, every one of you, because we've all mothered and cared and nurtured for something. Today is Mother's Day, the day that we celebrate those beings who have created within the womb our very bodies, and hopefully who have birthed and cared and loved and cherished, nurtured, nourished each and every one of you as you've grown and created space for you to grow more and supported you in that process. Now, many of us, I recognize on Mother's Day that this is a spectrum of experience, and that some of us may be over here on this, yes, I had that mother that was everything that I wanted her to be, and I'm so grateful, and I cherish her, and I've just expanded in who I am because of that. And then there's others of us who maybe didn't have as attentive as a mother, or maybe didn't flow, or the pathway didn't unfold in quite the way that we had hoped. So I honor and I recognize every one of us who may be walking through their own journey through this day. Maybe some of us who've wanted to have children and have not yet. But I must mention, as I mentioned that, is that some of the women who I've known who wanted to have children and didn't ended up being amazing mothers to so many other people, that the planet is a better place because they've been on it. So whether you're here or anywhere in between, I honor your journey and wherever you're at today. And I hope by the end of this talk today, you'll feel as solid and good in your heart about wherever you are at. So hold that thought in mind, okay? All right, so Mother's Day and women and the role of women in faith. I did a little research because I love to do research. The geek in me loves to bring the best to you in hopes of being in service to your spiritual journey. And so I came across a study from the Pew Research Center that was titled "The Gender Gap in Religion Around the World." It was published in 2016. And what they said in this particular article was, quote, "Some social scientists have argued that women are universally more religious than men across all societies, cultures, and faiths." That's a pretty profound statement, isn't it? And I found that interesting. And in that study, this one particular finding that they brought forth was kind of significant. And what this shows is all of the globe, and in those particular countries, they found out what gender was more likely to pray more often within those countries. And the burnt orange, that's not quite the UT orange, but close, is those countries where women pray more often than men. And in the blue, which is one country, is where the men pray more often than women, and that's in Israel. And the shaded is there's no significant difference. So men are praying, but I found this very significant. And, you know, we know that the process of creation, the process of loving, the process of nurturing is like, requires us to dig deep within us. And I just happen to wonder if the women with the feminine, if that divine loving nature within taps into the source of love, of creation, of understanding, and of reaching in to bring forth that through them. I'm wondering if that's what this significant survey brought forth. We are launching into a series of Everyday Sacred on the world's religions. You see, last year our Unity Church of the Hills Spirit Camp provided an opportunity for the youth to have an opportunity to learn about the major world's religions. It was so successful that we wanted to provide the same opportunity to every one of you. So stay tuned, because we're going to have some experiences in the next few weeks that are going to bring alive the different faiths, the major faiths within our world. When I was preparing for this talk, I remembered with joy Dr. Vern Barnett, who was the professor that taught me in seminary about the world's religions. And I love Dr. Vern Barnett because this is one of those teachers that just had you leaning forward in your seat, waiting to hear the next words that he was going to say, because he brought the whole thing to life. And the way he phrased that and brought it to life and to help us understand why does this all exist, was he said, what is it within your life that is so important that your life depends upon it? And that is what he called what is sacred. What is sacred? What is so significant that we would attend and behold and bear witness to the sacred within the moment with our full attention. He said that worship was a process of what is worthy of with our attention, and that the world's religions were really a method of a spiritual pathway of understanding the sacred and being in relationship with that in an orderly fashion that brought coherence and transcendent meaning to our lives. Relationships with one another in meaningful and powerful ways. And that's the purpose of why we have these faith systems. I can remember the day that he was telling us about the Native Americans and the sacred that they find. And he was sharing with us how the Native American would draw back his bow, and the doe was his focus. He was hunting for his family. And he would release the bow and it would go right to its target. And as that deer was dying, he would go to that doe and say, "Thank you, beautiful doe, for giving your life to support my family. I honor the sacredness of your being. It will be honored within my family as we take the energy that you are, and it gives life to us." The sacred within our experience. When we pause and pray over our food, it is a sacred moment where we honor that which gives us life. It elevates the energy of the experience itself. You see, in unity, we believe the first and primary principle upon which all of the other principles are established is that there is only one presence, if you know it, you say it with me, and one power in the universe, God the good, omnipotent. If we get this one thing, we will have got it. There is one power and one presence, and I would like to propose to you an analogy that this one power and this one presence is this mountain, and that these pathways of spirituality, these practices, these rituals are methods of climbing this mountain of truth, of understanding, of communion, of connection to that which is sacred, and that they all converge at the top. Now, what Vern also broke down into his understanding of our making this simple was that there are three primary families of faith. Okay, so let's just call them base camps at the base of the mountain, okay? Methodologies that we may see or we may not see. Every pathway is sacred. He said in the very first family of faith is primal, not as in primitive, but primal as it predated or was one of the original faith systems on the planet. And of that is ancient Egypt, Greece, Roman, Mayan, Incan, American Indian, tribal African, and more. And what this family of faith holds in common is that they find the sacred in nature, in our environment, in that which surrounds us. So the second family of faith, the second base camp at the mountain's base, is the Asian family of faith. And that encompasses Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Confucianism, and Taoism, etc. And this Asian family of faith finds the sacred in the psyche or in the consciousness of the individual. And the third family of faith is the monotheistic, one presence and one power. The monotheistic religions of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Baha'i, Zoroastrianism, etc., this family of faith finds the sacred in history, in coveted community, in relatedness, in our relatedness, in the community itself. Do you see a Holy Trinity here? Do you see the beauty that each one of these families of faith give to us? If we can get what each one of these families of faith are bringing, we will live in an environment that we understand we're connected to. And we'll honor it and be receptive to it. We'll find the beauty and the sacredness in the nature in which we live. We will find the beauty and the sacred within the person, in the Asian face, within us. And then we will understand how to bring that into the community in a way that's healthy, the way that's whole, that respects one another, that doesn't think about taking a gun to anyone for any reason, for any purpose. If we can glean the wisdom of this from each one of the faiths, we will have accomplished something. Unity's pathway. Hello, God. Yes, we are listening, we are attentive. We are open. That's the whole point here. Unity's faith, when it was established, was founded by Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. Myrtle had a healing from a recognition of the fact that she was a child of God and therefore did not inherit sickness. They created a magazine called Unity Magazine, and from the years of 1922 to 1925, on the front cover of that magazine, this statement was printed. The purpose of Unity is not to found a new sect, but to give the people a practical application of what they already have through their own church affiliations. So this practice is about employing the truth within all faith systems that are climbing that mountain of truth. I loved a conversation I had with Frank Phelan about in December of last year. I loved it so much. I said, would you follow this up with an email to me? And he did. And what he said and what we talked about and what we love about this faith system of Unity is he said that at Unity there is no need to check your theology at the door. He says, and I quote, "The energy of healing and transformation is a yes and. Each individual's form of creed, doctrine, theology, and dogma are welcomed here and is given an honored place in our home as an essential ingredient to the spiritual soup that is simmering in our melting pot as a unique and a divine expression of love." That is who we are. And that is how we love. And that is how we honor every one of you. So when we say, whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey of faith, you are welcome here, we mean it from the very bottom of our souls. Charles Fillmore studied Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And you know what the result of that was? An honoring of every one of them. And a decrease of mystification and of mystery and of misunderstanding, and an awakening to a greater level of respect and connection and a synthesis of all of the truth that is available through these pathways. Eric Butterworth was a well-known Unity minister and a writer. And what he shared was that the true church of Jesus is built in consciousness. He echoed Charles, who wrote, "Many have caught sight of the fact that the true church of Christ is in the state of consciousness within man." And what I hear within both of these statements is the base camp of the monotheistic Christian heritage joined with the Asian, it is in my consciousness. I am connected to this, and within me, as I focus on that, as I align with it, as I allow it, it becomes embodied in me. And then what I bring into the world becomes more of that. And as we step even further to recognize that it is within our environment, we're within our community, within our connection from heart and mind, all of the base camps begin to come together. So I wanted to bring to you a synthesis of all world's religions' teachings in a very short, brief, and period of time. And so what I've done is collected them into 3 different slides. All right, this one is what the primal faiths bring to us, nature, what is important, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat the earth and our environment in a way that is recognizing our very existence depends upon it from a place of awe and wonder, not a space of consumption, but a space of responsibility and a respect, a sacred respect for it. That beauty matters in our surroundings. Maybe your mom taught you all of these pieces, all of this wisdom. Did she ever say, pick up your room, make your bed? Your environment matters, darling. I love you. I love you, darling. Beauty matters, order matters. Our environment and what we do in our environment matters. We're all connected to it. We rely upon it for our oxygen and our food. It's important. You know, I got to tell you, beauty matters because this Vern Barnett was just such a sweet soul. And as I was getting closer and closer to ordination, I was getting sadder and sadder because I had a belief that as a minister, first of all, my inherited faith of Lutheran, Missouri Synod Lutheran, women didn't become ministers. But moreover than that, you didn't hug, and moreover than that, you did not dance. Oh my goodness, no. And as I was getting closer and closer to ordination, I was like, I have to stop dancing. And for me, that was very sad. But what happened in his class is one day I walked in there, and he had asked a ballerina from the Kansas City Ballet to come and be with us within that class. And she did a gesture with her arm about bringing the divine within. And I was alight because what I understood was that I feel God when I dance. It is sacred to me and it is holy, and that it is okay. It is okay to dance. And it's not that I have to give up dance as I step toward ordination. It's that I need to dance more, that I need to allow that space to express. Oh, yes. It's what we're all called to do, which brings me to the second family of faith that brings to us from the Asian cultures the consciousness of our person, the consciousness of my being that could not understand that I don't have to play small. I can play with all of the pieces within my puzzle. Know yourself. And when you know yourself and what's sacred and important to you, then you can find your spiritual core within you. And from that place, you focus on the present. You're mindful. You're mindful and you meditate and you don't worry. That's the Christian faith blended in there too. Don't worry. Be present. Bring yourself into the moment. Aim for achievements and not money. How many of you want to win the lottery? All right, bring it up. Yes, I say yes to that. Yes, all of you win. But don't expect it to bring you happiness. Money does not correlate to happiness. Happiness has got to be found within you, within your soul. So the next family of faith, the other base camp here at the base of our mountain, is the community aspect. And in the community aspect is it encourages us to interact, not isolate from one another. It's so easy to isolate today. So easy to get into Netflix or out. We need to connect with one another. The person to your right and left, in front of you, behind you, in the children's wings, in the women's groups, in the men's groups. There's gold to be had here. To be seen and to be heard and to be valued and to see and to hear and to value. To go to the conscious conversations and talk with one another. Discover more. Take responsibility for your actions. what I bring, the energy I bring, and how that impacts the world, and to strive to love, first understand, and then love each individual where they're at. Do you see a sacred and holy Trinity here? Do you know that wholesome, holistic, healthy, and holy, all of these words come from the same root word. One presence, one power, one mountain, many pathways. I want to talk with you about Tommy. Oh, I always want to get Caldwell. Thank you, Alan. Caldwell. You see, some of us have had a pretty easy pathway up the mountain. Some of us have had a pretty healthy family. Some of us have had a pretty easy path, and some of us have not. Remember, I promised you that I was going to try and get to that? Tommy Caldwell. Have you ever heard of him, by the way? He's a mountain climber, a United States mountain climber, and he's not had the easiest journey. It was 2 years old before he crawled. His dad, as a bodybuilder, thought he'd toughen him up and expose him to a lot of different things to make him more resilient. Loving father, one of the things he exposed him to is climbing. And Tommy was so good at climbing, he was better than his dad. And so it was like his meaning and his method and his pathway up that mountain. God, we're still here and we're still listening. Hello. Open always to your call, as us, through us. All right, so Tommy not only didn't crawl until he was 2, he found his passion within the process of climbing. He stepped into that, did really well, went to Kazakhstan, and ended up being held hostage for 6 days. And it was very traumatic. He thought he'd actually killed a man. You're going to have to tune into Netflix on this one to see the whole story. But he didn't actually kill that man. But he ended up marrying his partner, his climbing partner, who was a woman. They were very much in love. They were fixing up a cabin. And while they were fixing up the cabin, he sawed off his right finger. Now, for you and I, that would be very detrimental. That'd be difficult. It would be devastating, even. But for a mountain climber who uses every single mandible to hold onto a wall, it was unthinkable. Did it stop him? No. He's climbing this right now without that first part of his finger, and he's using his thumb to help create the stress and the tension needed to cling to that surface. His wife actually ended up falling in love with someone else, and their marriage was over. Did it stop him? That was his only climbing partner. No, he found another partner. He found another partner, and he became obsessed with El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. He climbed the most difficult climbs up that sheer rock face that he could climb, and he climbed 2 of them in a day. It was a phenomenal experience. He found another climbing partner because what he wanted to do was climb on the dawn wall, which is where the dawn hits the El Capitan early in the morning. No one had climbed it. Everyone thought it was impossible. And he spent years hanging from its surface, figuring out a pathway up. And he and his new partner went up. They went up, and there was a part of it that he didn't even know if he could do. I think it was Area 15. He did it. He tried and tried, and finally he did it. And on the morning that he did it, he said he got up there and he knew every place that his fingers should go, every nook and cranny in which his foot should lodge, so that he was able to get across the span of sheer drop, almost as a ballerina on a stage. He made it. He made it through. His partner did not. His partner could not. He went ahead eventually and started climbing the top of the mountain. When he knew that he was going to make it, he realized he didn't want to make it alone. So he was coming back down to their base camp. They're camping out on the side of this wall. He's like, you take your time. I do not want to do this without you. I am here for you. Yeah, wow. His dream. He spent years of his life in that more calm state. His partner tried, and finally he too made it. And his partner actually made this big leap thing that he couldn't even do. He had to climb down and up and around. They both made it to the top. Why do I share this story with you? This is our journey up the mountain of the infinite that is sacred. Some of us have easy pathways. Some of us have to leap. Some of us have to use reinforcements. But the mountain and the climber are one. Every step is sacred. Every step is precisely crafted and created to support you, Jack, in becoming exactly the person you are meant to be. Not a day has happened in your life that's not here to help you, as it did Tommy, to overcome boundaries that we think we have, but there is resources within us that we know not yet of. And the conditions of our climb, the conditions of our spiritual pathway are uniquely created for us to become the child of God we've been created to be. I am in honor of all of you, of your spiritual journey. I've had the pleasure of getting to know many of you. You are a child of God, and we draw from a rich base camp of an infinite mountain. I will see you at the top. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for joining us today. And if you like the message, we invite you to like it, share it, and please subscribe.
We are a New Thought church where lives are transformed. So come on, check us out at unityhills.org.
Namaste.